Hi everyone, my name is Dan Vasquez. I am the owner of Performance Motorworks in Rocklin, California. We specialize in European vehicles, and what I wanted to do today was just take a minute to go over with you what to look for when you're buying a used BMW. So I've got a couple cars here that we can look at. The first one is a 2002 BMW M3. I've got that one up on the lift so we can see the underneath and just briefly go through some of the processes and things that we do when we're checking the car over. The other car is a 2009 BMW X3. That one's on the floor where we can look underneath the hood and show you some of the things that we check for there. So come on over and we're going to start on the front of this car. So on this car here, I've already removed the plastic pan, which covers up a lot of what we want to look at. And so with this plastic pan removed, right away I can see here that we have a power steering hose, which has a pretty significant size leak. If that plastic pan were not installed, the client would be seeing this on the ground or in their driveway. So that's something that we're going to note down on our inspection as needing attention. Also with the plastic pan out of the way, we're going to look up in here, the dry belts, the serpentine dry belts are up in here. That's what run like your alternator and your water pump on this car. So it's super important that they're in good shape, which it does look like they are on this vehicle. I don't see any cracking or any obvious signs of extended wear, so that's good. One thing I noticed right here, there are some aftermarket parts bolted onto this car. That's not necessarily a bad thing. This is a performance car, but it's something that if you're buying the car, you're going to want to be aware of that. So we're going to note that on our inspection as well. Moving along, we've got the steering rack right here, tie rods, we've got control arms and suspension. So we're going to get a look at all those things. We're going to look at all these rubber boots right here to make sure that they're not torn. We're going to check one of the most important things on a BMW, which is these bushings back here. And I don't know if you can get there with the camera, but there's a rubber bushing back there, and it really is one of the weak links on the BMW front suspension. So we're always checking really closely at those, seeing if they're cracked or torn. This one here already has a little tiny split in it. Doesn't look really bad, but definitely enough that we should make a note of it. Another thing that I want to mention about our process in particular is we do have a digital process, so we are going to take pictures of this, and all these pictures will be available for viewing on the digital work order, and it'll be sent to our client. So that way it's just like the client was here and they can see everything. Another important thing obviously is tires. So we're going to look really closely at the tires. I've got an actual measuring tool here off camera that I'll grab. So we're going to look at the tires, not only the tread depth, but also the wear pattern. These tires look like they're wearing pretty well. They're even all the way across. If it was really worn in the center or really worn on the outer or inner edge, that would be a sign that maybe the alignment's off or maybe we have some really bad suspension. So these ones actually look pretty good, but we're going to take this tool and we're going to measure across the whole tire. And if you look at the tool, you can see this tire is in the green. So just a real quick, easy measurement. We're going to write down an exact measurement, but just by quickly looking, we can see going all the way across that the tire is in the green. Another thing that we inspect for, that is one thing that can commonly kind of get overlooked, is we want to look at the age of the tire. We want to make sure that the tire has not been on this vehicle for very long. About 4 years or older is when you want to start actually replacing the tire, because the rubber can deteriorate and it can separate. So every tire has a date code stamped on it. This one has a date code, the 28th week of 2016. So this tire is right about 3 years old at this time of this video, pushing 4. So it's okay still, but it's definitely pushing that limit. Looking up here, we're looking at the brake rotors and brake pads. With these wheels, they're really easy to see. Some cars we'd have to pull the wheels off to get an inspection on them, but we are checking the brakes, the brake pads and the rotors, and making sure that everything's looking good there. So what we do basically is we start at the front, we work our way to the back. So let's move along here. I can also, catching my eye right as I'm looking through here, I can see some more oil there. So it looks like this car not only has a leak from the power steering, but it also has an oil leak. These M3s have a couple common leak areas, and because we know the cars, we will investigate this further and kind of figure out where that oil is coming from. And then even looking back here at the manual transmission, we're seeing some oil residue there as well. And so this car has a few oil leaks. Now, one thing about BMWs is they are common for oil leaks, and the oil leaks can add up in price. So you definitely want to make sure you're having an inspection like this, so you make sure that you're not buying a car that needs some expensive repairs. So moving back, we're also looking at the exhaust system. We're checking everything here to make sure it's in good working order. This car doesn't look like a car that maybe you know, came from back east and has a bunch of rust on the exhaust. Everything looks pretty good here and in order. Nothing's rubbing or anything like that. We're kind of checking around the brackets, checking these rubber mounts to make sure that they're good, and nothing really out of place there. But look at this. Here we are back at the rear differential, and we actually have a pretty sizable leak there at the rear differential, so that's not good. This leak looks like it's coming from the pinion seal, and that's a pretty large repair because the drive shaft here has to be separated and the differential basically has to be taken out of the car in order to get that resealed. So that's one that we're definitely going to note on our inspection. One thing in particular on the M3s, and this is another reason that you want to have a BMW specialist look at it. Back here where the subframe mounts to the car, these will tear out sometimes. It was a defect on some of the M3s where this metal would actually tear and crack. And so we're looking really closely in that area as well. This car looks to be perfect. I don't see any tearing or cracking, but that could really ruin somebody's day if they bought a car and it had that kind of cracking. Also noticing some more aftermarket shocks, suspension components back here. Again, looks like really nice quality stuff, but something that the customer really needs to be made aware of. Something you're going to want to know if you're buying the car. You know, you might be a person who loves that aftermarket stuff, but you also might be a person who's looking for a stock clean car that hasn't been modified at all. And in that case, this wouldn't be your car. Moving back, you know, we're looking at the muffler as well. Also has an aftermarket muffler on here. Again, good quality stuff, but not factory. You can see where it's been welded in here. So it's not a factory fit or a factory mounted muffler. So overall, the car's not in terrible shape, but those oil leaks could turn into some costly repairs. And so if you move forward here, I'll show you real quick what we're going to do. Okay, so right here I have my iPad and I have a copy of our digital inspection pulled up. And so what we're going to do, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but here's a spot for fluid leaks, and we definitely found some of those. So I've got the option to mark it green, yellow, or red. Those were some pretty sizable leaks. So we're going to go ahead and mark that in the red. And then we're going to go ahead and make some notes about what we found. You know, we've got that differential pinion seal leaking. I'm not going to type in all the notes, but you get the idea. So you're going to get emailed or text message with a report of all these items in either green, yellow, or red. So you really have an idea not only of the problems that you have, but also the severity. So let's go ahead and move over to our X3 now. Let's look under the hood of that one, and let's get a look and see what that one looks like. So again, this is a 2009 BMW X3. It's got an all-wheel drive system. We're just going to start by looking under the hood. I've already cheated and taken some screws out of this panel so that we can get it out of our way, because you really can't see anything without it. So we're gonna move this panel and set it aside. So this right here is an oil cooler, and behind there is an oil filter housing. This is where your oil filter sits, right in here. There are some really common leak areas on this car. This oil filter housing gasket, which is tucked behind here that you can't see, that's a really common leak area. There's also a common leak area in the gasket that attaches this cooler to that housing. So I'm going to look really closely at that, and this car actually looks just perfect. It looks nice and clean. I don't see any oil residue here, but that's a super important area to look. And then now that we've got that cover off, we can really get a good look at the drive belt on this one, and that drive belt looks good. We're also, this tensioner here, the pulley and the tensioner that it rides on, that's another common failure area. And so what we want to make sure is that this belt is pretty close to centered on that pulley. We don't want the belt starting to pull over this way and ride off of the pulley. That can be super catastrophic. If this belt comes off of the car, it could actually get sucked into the engine and it can cause major engine damage. So this one's in good shape. I would give this one a clean bill of health. We got our air filter under here, so we would normally pop this off, inspect the air filter. We're going to look again for oil leaks around the side of the engine. Going to look at our valve cover gasket over here. This car really is in really good shape. Not seeing any oil leaks or anything at all. We're going to check our fluid levels of the washer fluid. We're going to go around to the other side. We'll check our other fluid levels. We got brake fluid over here. Looks like it's at the max level. We're also gonna pop this off and just look at the quality of the fluid, and the fluid actually looks pretty good. It doesn't look cloudy or dirty, so that's good. Just another tip: you want to have that brake fluid inspected and flushed, or flushed every 2 years. So we got our power steering fluid here. We'll check that level as well. Also going to check the condition of that. It looks almost like brand new. It's just beautiful. This car has been obviously really maintained. And then we have our cooling system here. We've got our radiator. We've got this plastic expansion tank right here is actually a really common leak item because it's made out of plastic. So we're going to get a close look at that. This white residue that you see right here, this is actually dried up coolant. And so that we wouldn't consider that a leak, but it definitely kind of has us looking a little bit more closely to see if maybe it has been leaking in the past. It could just be from when somebody checked the coolant that some spilled. But because these are a common area, leak area, we're really going to look close. We're going to, not only are we going to look for leaks, but we're going to look to see if it's discolored at all, because they'll start to, when they age, they'll start to get brown and discolored. So everything I would say is in order. We maybe make a note about this residue here, but I don't think it's enough to condemn this item. Also, while we were off camera, I did hook into the OBD Diagnostic on this car, and I started a diagnostic test. We do a diagnostic test on all of our pre-purchase inspections. This car doesn't have a lot of computers in it, but it does have a couple. Some of the newer, more modern BMWs can have over 100 computers, and we're going to check all of those for any error codes and let you know if there's any errors or not. If you want to see what that looks like, we can go back over to my iPad. Okay guys, so here we are over at the iPad. So I'm going to be honest with you, our X3 was really boring. It didn't have any fault codes to look at, and that wasn't very fun. So I went ahead and hooked up to a 5 Series across the way. So we got some more error codes and some things to look at. So if you want to come over here and take a look. So we're not just looking again at the engine module when we do one of these inspections, we're doing every module in the car. And so if you look, as you scroll through, you can see that modules with no errors are in green. The ones that do have errors pop up in the red. It makes it nice and easy to spot. So for our instrument cluster, for example, has 4 errors. We're going to take a look at those errors, and we're going to try to determine if those errors are something that would hold you up from buying the car, if it's really an important issue, or sometimes we just get some erroneous errors in there that aren't too big of a deal. And that's kind of what these ones look like here. When it's all done, we can go ahead and attach these errors in the form of a PDF report to that digital inspection that we're going to email off to you, and that way you can kind of see everything that we're seeing. And again, if there's anything that's really notable or really would prohibit you from maybe wanting to purchase the car, we're going to let you know. Something like that right there where it says mileage faulty, that's important. That's one that we're going to let you know about right away. We're going to dig in a little bit further and see if this is erroneous, or if there really maybe has been some mileage tampering there. That could be a really big deal. Obviously, that's what you're paying us for. That's why you have a master tech looking at your car. So by the way, I didn't mention at the very beginning, I am a master technician. I am ASC certified. In addition to owning the shop, I'm also a technician as well. My years of experience are what helped me to kind of know what to look for on these cars, on these pre-purchase inspections. If you ever want a pre-purchase inspection in the Rocklin area, we do charge $150 for this process. We have it priced pretty low for everything that we do because we want to make sure that we're doing a good service for you, our clients, and make sure that you're making a good and wise purchase. If not, hopefully in the area that you are in, anywhere across the United States, you can find somebody with the same level of expertise that can give you a good quality inspection like this. And if not, hopefully some of the tips that I gave you might help you to look at some things on your own, give you some things to look for. So again, if you're in the Rocklin area, even if you're not looking for a pre-purchase inspection, you'd like some service or maintenance, our phone number is 916-624-9656. Our website, www.pmwonline.com. You can always reach out to us on the web or on social media if you have any questions about this process or just any questions about a car that you're looking to purchase. So thanks so much for taking the time to watch my video, and I hope you like it. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.